You're listening to the Savvy Solo Parent Podcast. Your host, Kelly K. Fisher. Where love meets learning and stories find their home. Yeah. There's beauty in the journey, there's strength in the heart. Hold on, you're doing your part.
Welcome back to the Savvy Solo Parent Podcast. I am so excited. It's Kelly K. Fisher here, and we are back with a guest today. So it's interesting because sometimes I will be here by myself, just sharing, parts of my journey just so that we can get to know each other a little bit better and see if some of my stories resonate with you. But then oftentimes I'll have guests here, a lot of super friends, whether they're solo parents, whether they're affected by parenting solo because they had a mother or a father, could have been foster care, it could have been someone who has adopted children, single by choice, divorced, however it might be. Today, though, I have a really special friend of mine who is joining me, and I could not be more excited. I chose her as one of my first guests because of that, because we have a really long history together. Her name is Myque Harris Rodriguez. And so I'll give you a little bit, or she'll give you a little bit of background about that. But when we were friends in our solo parenting journey in Charlotte, North Carolina, she was Myque Harris, and she is a boss woman, first of all. I so admire her. She is a 20-plus year clinical mental health counselor in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And I mean, her practice is thriving because of all of her different she uses all types of meditation and different ways that she helps adults and teens. She helps college students, people of color, single parents, entrepreneurs, the LGBTQIA community. She's just so supportive of so many people, and her practice is thriving, but she's a great friend of mine. So I wanted to welcome today Myque Harris Rodriguez.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's such an honor to be here today. This is amazing. This is nothing short of all the fantastic things that you do. So I'm so happy to be here and be a part of it. Yeah, and tell a little bit about my journey. And it's so awesome because I admire you so much, and I love the just humility that we were able to connect in when we were single parents and supporting our children.
Thank you. And what you don't know is that you are like my very first guest by choice because of, and all of my guests are special, but because of the journey that we've had. We have so many similarities in our journey of solo parenting, where in Charlotte, North Carolina, we're in private school, and that was one of the things that we both decided was really important, education. And you, like me, moved from your location to Charlotte, and a huge relocation to have a better life for her, I know. So I was just wondering if you could share a little bit more about some of the big leaps of faith that you had to take to get to where you are today. Like, we're always evolving, but you are in a wonderful place, a wonderful company and thriving practice. But tell us more about some of the big leaps that you had to take when you were just starting this journey.
Absolutely. And I had been there for 7 years because that's where I went to graduate school. So I was just doing my thing, transitioning kind of out of my late 20s into my 30s, established in private practice and a group practice there, working, just doing all of the things, had a really great friend group and support group from people that I knew from undergraduate, graduate school, etc. Was in a relationship. And as that relationship started to deteriorate, that's when I found out that I was pregnant. And so I actually went into single parenting very, very early. And I really had to make a decision. Do I want to try to come together and create a relationship because of, the child that's coming, or do I want to take a leap? And that was the very first decision that I had to make to say, am I going to start this journey solo? Mm-hmm. And so it was not what I imagined for my life at all. I never imagined myself being a single parent, but it was the very, very first step. So I ended up moving when I was 6 months pregnant. I ended up leasing my house and doing a whole bunch of things and coming down to Charlotte just to say I need to be with my support system it's so fantastic to know that you have wonderful friends that will be there to support you. But I think there's nothing like family.
Hmm.
Sometimes our friends are our family, and I was able to really just make a decision to connect me to specifically my parents, some of my siblings that were in the Charlotte area or in the southern area, North Carolina or Tennessee, Atlanta, and that was my very first leap.
Wow, that was a huge leap. I remember taking that leap myself. Just thinking, okay, I'm going to go and start this new life from New Jersey to Charlotte. It was amazing that we were taking that same leap around the same time because our daughters are the same age. And then we ended up meeting each other. But that is a huge leap that I know a lot of people can relate to is, just finding that balance and saying, okay, what is best for myself? What is best for my plans, my goals? What is best for my child at this point to be able to give, a balanced life going forward. And so that's interesting that you mentioned that was a big leap because it's the same for me. So were there any fears? So you land in Charlotte. So what did you have any fears or did you have anything that you encountered when you told people, hey, I am parenting solo of this, this toddler at this point? Are there things that you had to overcome or any untruths that you had to, really share with people when they, encountered you at first?
Yes, absolutely. I think that there were a few things. If we break it out into areas, one was kind of professionally, and then one was just personally.
Mm-hmm.
Professionally, I was in private practice. And so a lot of times when you're in private practice, if you go to another private practice, you're still going to have to build your client load and take some risk, in that area to kind of start from nothing
Mm-hmm.
and build, right? And so at the time, I said, am I going to go into another private practice and try to build from scratch? Or do I need to do something different? And so when I was in school, I did a lot of work in clinics, but also I did work in schools, like being a therapist in schools or training. And so I decided to just branch out and tap into that. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of going into a situation where I have to figure out how I'm going to do private insurance and try to build a practice, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go back into the workforce in the school setting. And so I ended up going into an independent or a private school and working as a therapist in a school. And it was great because I had a 10-month position. I had all the benefits and everything that I needed. But it was almost in some ways very humbling because I felt like, well, I'm supposed to kind of continue this journey, right? I'm in private practice and I need to just be growing and taking these steps and always kind of doing bigger and better. But what I realized is that I needed to take a step back and do what was exactly right for me and my daughter at the time. And that was having the schedule that I needed, having the benefits that I needed, making sure that I could feel really secure. And I actually did that for 5 years. And I worked all the way up until she was in kindergarten. And it was great because I had my summers off and like all of that with her and was really able to just hone in on the relationship that was very important and give her what she needed. But I remember feeling some aspects of am I going backwards, right? Like going into a school and doing this work. So I really had to confront some of that and humble myself and say, this is what you need to do to feel secure. And even some of that had salary wise, like, right. I'm like, I'm not making the same money, but the trade off between summers and being able to be with my daughter and meet her schedule was completely worth it. I would do it over again.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's something. That's something that I didn't realize that we had in common. So when I moved from New Jersey, I was a VP of business development. When I moved down to Charlotte, I was in telephone sales. I
Mm,
was in telephone sales. And so I
yes,
just I had
yes,
to do the hours. I was punching in. I had never punched in a time clock in my life. However, just to get that stability to say, okay, I can be home
yes.
at, 3 or 4 o'clock. I can, get them to daycare. I can get us into a stable environment. And so sometimes that's interesting that we have that in common because sometimes you have to make these sacrifices, but still
Yes.
knowing that, I never lost, hope on my goals. I always knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. I always knew that I was going to have my own business. You now have your own practice. So, I mean, did you ever encounter any of that? Because I'm sure, as people saw you being, helping people in the school system and really counseling and making a difference there, I'm sure you still had in your mind, there's something bigger out there for me, and I know it's just a matter of time.
Yes, absolutely. And, one of the things that I think that I encountered that had some overlap was what I was feeling personally. So I had to kind of humble myself in the professional realm, but I also felt a lot of shame around being a single parent. And that was something that I really had to look at. I felt like I had fell short. I felt like I, wasn't on the trajectory that I thought that I should be on. And so I felt that there was a lot of judgment. I think it was really me judging myself, because a lot of people in my circles and the people that I was around were really supportive of me and felt like, hey, you're who you are. We love you. You're doing this thing. But I really had to confront some shame. And I think that that spilled over professionally also, because when I took a step back, I'm like, well, people aren't going to know me in this realm. They're not going to understand the level of work that I've done, what I'm actually capable of. They're kind of seeing me in this box. But what I really had to do was challenge myself, because I realized that sometimes what we do is we put ourselves in a box, and then we think everybody else is defining us by the box that we put ourselves in. And a lot of times that's not what's happening. People are like rooting for you and cheering for you. So there was a period of time where I really had to come back and ask myself, one, how are you going to deal with that shame, right? Do you want to continue to walk in that? Do you want to continue to let that hold you back from, like you said, those dreams that I was still deeply, deeply connected to?
That's so true. And it's so true that sometimes we put those things on ourselves, especially when you're new in the journey. It seems like everybody is looking at you. It's like everybody's staring at you like, oh, that's the one over there. But, and that's one of the reasons that I started this community, is because I wanted to change that negative stigma, whether it's from others or whether it's from ourselves, saying, I'm a single parent. No, I am a solo parent, and I am amazing. I'm amazing
Yes.
because all of these different qualities. I'm amazing because I have goals, and and I have children in tow, and it's all good, But it doesn't change the person that you are. It doesn't change the goals that you have. It doesn't change what you're capable of. And so, even in this community, our motto is always, it's not, if you can do it, it's how. So, as
That's
in the
right.
solo parenting journey, you're just doing things differently, And so I just want to make sure that we keep on driving that home. It's not if you can do it, it's how you can do it. And there's so many amazing solo parents and former solo parents who have gone through the journey and come out, with so many things that we've learned. And so I also wanted to ask you if there was, even as a mental health expert, because I know you have a really thriving practice at this point. It's like hard to get in, but you are just, because you're so compassionate, you're so loving and so caring. So from a mental health perspective, what should solo parents be aware of that their kids might be facing? Are there things that you see teens or people that have come to you for either children or parents? I'd say probably from the children's perspective that we may not know as parents.
Absolutely. I think that there are so many things in my practice, and thank you for so many of the kind words. I think that there are so many different layers of what we see, and sometimes parents will deal with what's on the surface. And what's happening is kids are really resilient, and so they're trying to establish a new normal. Sometimes they're trying to navigate the different things that are complicated in the relationship with the parent that they see the majority of the time, the relationship with the other parent. They're navigating friendships and all the things that they're trying to do. And a lot of times, because kids are so resilient, they look like they're okay, right? And so parents are like, they're okay, they're fine. They're not coming and talking to me. They're not asking me questions. They're not really talking about this or that. They seem fine. And a lot of times what I hear in the background or what I hear in the office space, and even what I heard from my daughters, that, there were times where I wasn't okay, but I didn't necessarily know how to initiate that conversation. I didn't know how to bring this up. I overheard this, you on the phone talking about that, or I was wondering about this, and I didn't know how to talk about it. Or I've been feeling these things, but I don't even actually know how I'm feeling. So how am I supposed to come to you? And so a lot of times parents feel like, well, if something's going on and they're not okay, they're going to come talk to me. But at the same time, that's not what it is. That's not what kids necessarily have, depending on the ages and stages that they're at. Even my daughter was older. She's like, I didn't know what to say or how to express it. So I think sometimes we have to be better at initiating conversations and asking questions and being okay, stepping into the discomfort of exploration, right? And saying, no matter what they feel, no matter what's going on, I can't just assume they're okay because they look okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so good, because that's bringing up a conversation I had with one of my daughters. And she was like, you know what, you were doing so much at the time. You were juggling the three of us. And there were things that I had on my mind, but I didn't want to put it on your plate. Like I didn't want to add anything else. So how can we, like you said, I was just trying to make sure everybody was alive. Like everybody got to where they were supposed to be. I was building my business and I had 3 daughters. I was just trying to make sure everybody got home, their clothes were washed, and everybody made it in the door safely. So I guess she felt some of that. I guess she felt some of that at this point. So I guess for the solo parents that are coming behind us or that are still, really in this journey, are there any things that you can mention? Like, how do we open up that door for them to be able to talk to us when we have so many other things going on? Is it a certain time of day, or how can we just build in, even if it's 10 minutes, to be able to say, hey, this is the time that you can tell me anything?
Yes, I think that's what it is. It's intentionality. It's being deliberate. When we take the time to create spaces, 5 minutes goes a long way. 5 minutes of undivided, what's going on with you? What are your thorns of the day? What are your roses of the day? Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. We create time to be able to give them undivided attention. 5 to 10 minutes goes a long way. The issue is we do that, but we're not consistent with it. So what happens is that we're not in a pattern of just checking in, and they get used to it. Because sometimes, you know how it is with kids, you check in 10 times, everything's fine, don't have anything to say. And that 11th time is when they just start talking and they open up. And when they do, what we need to do is withhold our opinions and withhold our fixing it and withhold sometimes what we need to say and just ask questions. Tell me more. Really, what happened? And then what? Help me understand. Because a lot of times we start talking and then we leave that conversation and we don't have any more information than we did before, right? And so with single parenting, I think solo parenting, I think it really is coming in and trying to be intentional and consistent about, I have 5 minutes, I have 10 minutes. If I have more, I'm going to give it to you. But doing that and doing it consistently. And I think that creates and fosters relationship. And when there's relationship and trust, those things happen organically.
That's so helpful. Even now, that's something. And I think, I feel like looking back on it, I would be almost overcompensating, as just being the only parent. So I just was like, okay, let me just overcome. So even if they did share something, I'm thinking maybe I was probably trying to explain it away, or, well, this is why it is. But just being quiet and just allowing them to share whatever is on their mind at this point, and just, letting them share and get it out. And then, not responding, is that like not responding with what you think, or just how do you respond to it when it's something that is, bothering them that maybe we're doing?
So true. So true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you joining today. And I think it's just been such a great conversation. You're one of my greatest friends, even though it's one of those friends that you don't get to talk to so much because we're doing all kinds of things, but we just have that heart connection. I know when I moved to Atlanta, you and your daughter came and stayed, and it's just, we check in, and it's just like picking up where we left off. I'm so proud of all that you're doing. Let me know and let our audience know where they can find you, your website, or how can they work with you. I don't know if it has to be just in North Carolina, but you're just a wealth of wisdom and so compassionate. Where can people find you?
Yes, thank you so much. So in the pandemic, I went completely, solo. So for the last 5 years, I've just been doing my private practice. I'm in my office in Charlotte now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And there are always really cool, exciting things to come. So maybe I'll be back on and be able to talk about some of those things in the future. But yeah, so my website is Mycology, and that's MYQUELO OGY, make sure I spelled that right. .com. Had to take a second. But mycology.com, and all the information is really there. Of course, I do a wide range, but my kind of sweet spot and wheelhouse is going to be those older teens, young adults, college students, older adults. I think my oldest client is in her 60s. And then I always like to let people know that I work with also solo parents, but also half a couple. So if you're in a relationship and you are just navigating some different things, but you need to have that, individual kind of support within your couple, I do that work as well. And also, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on, and you are amazing. I want to say to everyone, you are one of the most humble women that I know. With all of your successes, with everything that you've done, you walk in so much humility. I feel like you wear that on you, and anyone that knows you knows that is a part of your heart genuinely. And so I just have always appreciated it. It's something that I felt very drawn to. And I think sometimes when you're parenting or when you're doing your thing as an entrepreneur, there can be this competitive energy sometimes. And I never felt that from you. I always felt support and love and, hey, what do you need? And let's lift each other up. And so I want to say thank you for that, and also let people know that that's a genuine part of who you are.
Oh, I so appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate, and she's not paid to say that, but I so appreciate you just sharing that, because I don't really think of, doing anything. I had 3 children, but I was like, hey, what do you need? And you said the same to me. Even last night, we were busy just trying to get something. Like, hey, what do you need? Back and forth. And you have that similar energy. So I appreciate that. And congratulations. I should mention that probably next time when you come on, we'll talk about that. Of course, me being a relationship coach and dating. So Myque is newly married, and so this has been amazing. So congratulations on the new nuptials, and I just so appreciate you being here, for our community. So you all reach out to Myque for sure. Thank you for all of your insights, and we will check in with you again soon. Of course, all of you follow the Savvy Solo Parent for more podcast episodes. We will see you soon.
You've been listening to the Savvy Solo Parent Podcast.